Before we get into today's video, I did want to let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere, in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance in hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all have had a wonderful week. I hope everybody is getting outside, drinking their water, going for a walk, being good to yourselves. Yes. So in today's video, I really wanted to do this story for multiple reasons, but one, because I ended up reading a quote from one of the people that are involved in this, and it reminded me very much of myself and even things that I've told you guys in stories that I've done in my older videos years ago when I laid out like my life story for you guys. So let me just start this off or preface this with a couple little things. A lot of y'all know that I grew up in and out of the system, in group homes, foster homes, different programs, in and out of different family members' homes. I went to 13 different schools by the time I was in the 9th grade. I mean, that's literally how much I moved around. A lot of y'all used to ask me years ago, like, do I think that you should adopt? Do I think that you should foster children? You guys never hear me come on here in the videos and start advocating to everybody, right? Like, y'all, there's so many kids in the system. Go and get them. Go and get them. If you have the resources, you never hear me say that. And the reason why I don't is because it takes a certain type of person, in my opinion, to adopt or foster. You need to feel called to it. It needs to be in your heart, and you need to really feel called in order to do it, because it's not always sunshines and rainbows, number one. Number two, it's not a badge of honor. It's not, you don't adopt or foster so you can go up to your church and let everybody know what a good person you are. You need to do it because you're truly called in your heart to do it. So that brings me to today's story. And today's story is about two brothers named Elijah and Caleb Lishing. So let's just start at the beginning. Elijah and Caleb Lishing were two brothers who were in the system due to being born to a young mother who was on substances. Their biological mother, whose name is Ashley, gave birth to her first child, who was Elijah, when she was just 15 years old. 2 years later is when she had her second child named Caleb. Now, Caleb was born prematurely. He was only 24 weeks and he only weighed 1 pound. 1 pound? You know how tiny that is? Have you ever held a 2-pound dumbbell? It's like nothing. So of course, Caleb in the hospital was hooked up to all of the machines and technology that they have in order to help him get healthy and continue to grow. But during the time of Ashley giving birth prematurely to Caleb, she was given a urinalysis, or she was tested for what was in her system. And due to a failed test, her babies were taken from her, Elijah and Caleb, and they were put in the system. Now, it is said that the boys were placed in family services. And then I've seen different things. I've seen that, they've had family members to, come in and try to take the kids, and it was just different stuff. But the boys, they bounced around a bit, and then Ashley was actually going and visiting them for a while, and then she eventually ended up just signing her rights over. And if you guys don't know what happens with that, is the people that were keeping the boys decided that they would take them full time. She would have to sign away all her rights, which means legally she's no longer their mother. She don't have to pay child support. She doesn't have to be involved in anything if she doesn't want to, and she also has no rights. So the people that do end up adopting these boys or taking them, they can tell her too, you have no rights to this child. So she just completely decided to sign over her rights and not be legally their mother anymore. Now, she was going through her own thing. She was a very young mother, and she would later say that she felt like that she was doing the best thing she could for the boys. She said she thought she was making a selfless decision. And this is when Dina and Marty Lishing officially and legally adopted Caleb and Elijah. Ashley would later say that over the years, she tried to have contact with the boys, but that she wasn't able to. So because of that, she said she kept up with the boys through court documents and on Facebook. Like she would snoop on the Lishing's Facebook pages and look at photos of them and see them. But that's about the interactions that she had with her children. Before we go any further, I did want to stop and thank today's sponsor, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a meal kit delivery service that delivers fresh and quality ingredients from the farm to your front door in less than a week. And if you're looking for an easy way to eat well and save money, cut back on all the takeouts and going out to eat, HelloFresh has exactly what you need. You'll love how fast, easy, and affordable it is to whip up a restaurant quality meal right in your own kitchen with meals ready quicker than delivery. Last weekend, I wanted to try something different, so I made this HelloFresh beef with cheddar Gouda fondue. It had asparagus, potatoes, apples, and bread, and it was so good, you guys, just dipping it into that cheese. In this particular meal kit, there was like different types of cheeses that all mixed together, and the cheese was so melty and creamy and good. My husband was home for the weekend from working, and he was laying on the couch watching football, and I whipped it up and brought it in there for us to eat. Super delicious. Highly recommend if you get a chance. But no matter your lifestyle or your meal preferences, HelloFresh has something to please everyone at your table. HelloFresh offers meals like Calorie Smart, Carb Smart, Veggie, and family friendly, so you'll always find something even the pickiest of eaters will enjoy. If you want to try HelloFresh, all you gotta do is go to HelloFresh.com and use code ChristinaRandall65 and you can save 65% off plus free shipping today. Thanks again, HelloFresh. However, though, years later, when Elijah was 13 years old and Caleb was 11, Ashley said she came across something on Facebook pertaining to her boys that instantly made her sick to her stomach. From the outside world, for a long time, it seemed like these boys had been saved. They had been adopted by this couple. They looked clean. They looked happy. Every picture on social media was your typical smiling, holding up ice cream or, out in the sunshine. But you never know what goes on behind closed doors. And according to the police department, the cops had been called to that house a few times because they said that Elijah, the oldest, was being unruly or acting up or doing things to the point that the parents felt like they needed to have the sheriffs come and intervene. However, on April 23rd of 2018, all of their lives would be changed forever. At around 9:34 p.m., a 911 phone call came in, and this was different than the typical 911 phone call. This call was made by a frantic babysitter that was at the house staying with the two boys while Marty and Dina were overseas on a trip.
Oh my God! 911, where's the emergency?
What is the address here again? Something terrible has happened. I'm babysitting two kids. What's the address? 995 Alden Drive.
995 what?
Alden Drive. Oh my God, I think he is not even alive.
Okay, Meldon Drive?
No, Alden Drive in Streetsboro.
Alden? 995?
Yes. Alden Drive in Streetsboro.
What's going on there?
I don't know. He's bleeding.
Who's bleeding?
There's blood everywhere. The little boy that I'm watching, he's 11.
Units 995 Alden Drive, 995 Alden. I have a female on the line stating there's blood everywhere. She doesn't think the child is alive.
Blood coming out of his throat. Please hurry.
Are there any weapons around?
I don't know.
Okay, can you check for me?
Are there any weapons around? Elijah. The other boy that's here, I don't know where he's at.
Okay, how old is the...
He's 11. Please hurry.
He's 11?
Yes.
Okay.
I smell like...
When was the last time you saw him when he was okay?
When he went to bed at 8:30 and his brother went to bed at 9. Please hurry.
Ma'am, we're already on the way. I'm just trying to get as much information as I can. Can you check to see if he's breathing?
Yes. Oh my God, I don't think so. Oh, he's got blood just pouring out of his mouth.
Okay.
I don't think he's breathing.
Okay, can you check to see if you can feel any air coming out of his nose or mouth or feel a pulse?
I don't feel air, anything.
Okay. And you last saw him just an hour ago?
Oh, hurry, I think he might still be breathing. There's water. No, about 8:30. What time is it?
It's 9:30.
It's 8:30.
Okay. What do you think he hurt himself on?
I have no idea. He's got a hole in his neck.
A hole in his neck?
Yes, please.
Okay, do
Get
you
someone
see...
here.
Do you... Ma'am,
My phone's about to go.
okay, they're on the way. I'm going to stay with you.
She's saying there's a hole
Oh
in an
my
11-year-old
God.
child's neck. There's blood everywhere. I'm trying to figure out what happened.
Something smells like maybe gunpowder. I don't know.
Okay. Are there any weapons known to be in the house?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I heard a pop and I ran back here and the other boy came out and said, what was that? And I ran in here. He's got, it's in his chest. Please hurry. I think he's still alive. He's moving.
He's moving. Can you try to give him, chest compressions?
I can. Yeah. I don't think, will it hurt him if he's still breathing? There's blood everywhere. I have to unlock the door. I don't know where his brother went.
Okay, is his brother in the house?
No, he was, but he's gone.
As you all can hear, the babysitter is absolutely frantic. She says that there's something wrong with Caleb. She could see the blood. She could not find Elijah anywhere. She was like asking them to hurry up. Later, it had come out that she had sent the two boys to bed. You know, you've got the 11-year-old went to bed first, who was Caleb, and then she sent the 13-year-old, who was older, to bed a little bit later. And she thought they was sleeping until she heard a loud bang and went to go check on the boys. And this is when she found Caleb. Because she made this 911 phone call, first responders and the police was dispatched to the house. When the first responders got there, they immediately rushed to the room where Caleb was, and they could see there was blood. They did find that Caleb was alive, barely. They put him on the stretcher. They tried to get him stable. They rushed him to the hospital. However, he passed away. Now, this time, the cops, they're investigating, like, hold up, what's up? Like, okay, what's going on? The babysitter's flipping out. She don't know. She sent the boys to bed, but there is the older brother, 13-year-old Elijah, that is missing. As the cops began to make their way through the house, they found the gun cabinet that belonged to the grandfather. And it is obvious, because it was a locked cabinet, that somebody had broken into it and removed a weapon. The weapon would later be found to be a .357 Magnum. And it would also later be pieced together that the older brother, the 13-year-old Elijah, broke into the grandfather's cabinet, pulled out this weapon, and shot his 11-year-old sleeping brother in the throat. The bullet had actually went through him and into the wall while he was sleeping. The cops began to look for Elijah everywhere, and then they would find him hiding not too far from the house. They immediately arrested him on aggravated murder and booked him and took him down to the juvenile facility. Now, I'm going to pop up some pictures here for you guys to see him in court. Obviously, his face is removed because he was a minor at the time, but you can just look at his body and tell he was a little boy. Like, he was little. And of course, everybody's trying to figure out why, what happened, what would make him do this. The police would go on to say that they believed that this crime was premeditated because Elijah had taken apart that gun cabinet when he couldn't find the keys to it. Elijah would go ahead and plead no contest, and he was immediately found guilty by the juvenile court judge. The judge would later sentence Elijah to remain in juvenile detention until he was 21 years old. He's around 18-ish years old right now, just with doing the math from the years. We don't know exactly all the details because he was a minor, and they placed a gag order on this case. But in around 3 years-ish, give or take, it seems like Elijah will be able to go in front of a judge. And then from there, they will decide whether he goes to adult prison or where he goes from here. Now, let's bring it back so we can try to figure out exactly what happened with this. Now, remember how I told you that this was not, the first time that the cops had been called to this house. The cops had been called there because they said that Elijah was being unruly. Well, because Elijah was now in the juvenile system, he was now in front of a lot of like doctors and psychologists, and they began to talk to Elijah and try to figure out like, okay, what's going on? Is this an evil child? Did he want to do this? What happened? The more that they began to talk to Elijah, they started piecing together this 13-year-old little boy's life. And what it seemed like had happened was when he was young, living with his mother who had her struggles, he was neglected. And from that neglect, it just kind of started to snowball. I mean, you're talking about 2- and 3-year-old baby already being neglected, allegedly. He was not developing just right off the bat the way that he should have. And then from there, he went into this adopted or this foster home. And from there, this is where allegedly the real abuse began. Elijah would tell these doctors stories about being as young as 5 years old and being locked in the garage with all the lights off, completely dark, him screaming and crying, banging on the door, wanting to get in and not being able to. He also told the psychologist stories about his adoptive father or parents making him kneel on beds of rice at 5 and younger for long periods of time while he cried. And so these are just some of the things that we know on a gag order type of juvenile case. And so he developed what the doctors called reactive attachment disorder. Reactive attachment disorder stems from not having basic emotional needs met during infancy, toddlerhood, and the preschool years. New parents usually meet their baby's needs by cuddling, soothing, rocking, and interacting. Moms and dads generally react with empathy when their babies and toddlers are upset, and they celebrate them with smiles and hugs when their little ones first walk and reach their milestones. All of these actions, along with countless others, show babies and toddlers that they are loved. And as a result, they develop a strong bond with their parents and other caregivers, and they feel secure and content most of the time. However, and this just makes me sick to my stomach, when a baby is ignored, and you guys, there are actual studies of this, okay? They had these studies where they had these babies that they did not touch. They just let cry, and they didn't, what happens when a baby is not touched and coddled and loved. And there's these studies where the babies didn't even grow. They did not grow right. They didn't, develop right. Like, we are social animals or creatures or humans, we need each other. As much as some of y'all feel like y'all don't need anybody and you don't like people. Yes, you do. Come here, give me a hug. But especially babies, to develop in the right way. Now, I could do a whole video on what can happen when a child does not bond like that when they're little. But for the sake of the time in the video here, I'm just going to keep moving. So the doctors said that he developed this disorder, which you think about it, if you have a child or now a young adult or a teenager that has never had a loving bond with anybody, they kind of don't care in a way. And so while Elijah continued to speak to professionals, he said this: I didn't realize that I loved my brother or that I loved my family until I lost it. I was living inside my head. I was unable to determine the difference between imagination and reality. I've changed though. I may not have my imagination or my emotions completely under control, but I am trying. Now, there was a guardian ad litem that was appointed to Elijah, and the guardian ad litem is supposed to speak on behalf of the child and advocate for the best interest of the child. Okay, now this person said this: this is a young guy who has been in a secure facility over 8 months and tells us that it's the happiest and safest that he's felt in his entire life. I think that's very telling, Your Honor. That part got me. That got me. A lot of y'all know what that feels like. A lot of y'all know exactly what that feels like. And that's sad. That's also how we get institutionalized adults sometimes. It's not that prison is fun. And it's not that anybody sits around and dreams when they're a little kid playing with their trucks. Oh, I want to spend my life in prison. It's sometimes people develop and it feels safer that way. I've told you guys in stories years ago that when I was put in juvenile facilities, When I was a kid, I actually liked it. I felt like it was a place that nobody was going to have to kick me out or make me leave. Now, Elijah is still being held until he's turned 21, and then he will be reevaluated. Now, I don't know this boy, and I don't know anything about him, and I'm definitely not advocating for him to be out, because for all I know, he could be a danger to himself and to others. And if that is the case, then he should never get out, as far as I'm concerned. It's so sad, too, his little brother, Caleb, he was sleeping. And I guess I just want to bring it back to the point that I was making in the beginning of this video for the thing that we can learn from this. I definitely don't want to talk anybody out or scare anybody if you want to adopt a child, but or foster. If you want to do that, do it because you're called, and be all in. Be all in to help the child. Don't be all into locking them in the garage, in the dark, when they're 5 years old and they've already been neglected. Don't do it for that reason. This is a tragedy all the way around. When his mother was asked, his biological mother, Ashley, she said she did regret giving her boys up and that she wished she could go back in time, which, that a lot of people have that feeling. And I'm going to end this video just talking a little bit about Caleb from what we know, because he was just 11 years old, and his adopted father made a statement about him that I thought was, you just never really know what went on in these boys' life. We know he was born premature, so we know that from the day that he came out of his mama's stomach, who failed a test when she was having him. We don't know if he was born addicted or what, but he was born 1 pound, so he was born fighting for his life right from the beginning. He had obstacles to overcome from the moment he entered the world. And then his adopted father made the statement after this and said, "Kids like Caleb woke up every morning, every day, and carried something in him that he rarely let anybody else know. Life was harder on that little guy." That's very sad. Caleb's teachers and families shared what they knew about him, and they shared that his favorite color was red, and his love for nature, animals, reading books, and his fascination with oceans and ships were things that made him happy. What do you guys think about this? We've talked about other cases before, actually, with kids that develop this reactive attachment disorder. It's been in a few of these kids, actually, that we've talked about in these stories. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.